I'm on scene in Kitchen Road, Dandenong South, where there's been a factory fire.
Oh, how are you going? I'm Station Officer Adrian Devonish from Dandenong Fire Station. At about 1:30 this afternoon, we were dispatched to a factory fire, 44 Kitchen Road in Dandenong South. And en route, we noticed that there was quite a large dark column of smoke building in that vicinity. So, on experience, escalated the response to another 2 pumpers. So we called 4 pumpers and responded in aerial appliance and a breathing apparatus support van to the location. On arrival, we found that the front portion of the factory was fully involved. The factory was an organisation that produced cosmetic products, Greencare Developments, their name is, and the owners were on site and quite concerned that there was a large amount of combustible liquid and some flammable materials in the front portion of the building. So we set about some strategies to try and attempt to hold the fire to the front portion of the premise, which we were quite successful in doing that. The aerial crew were quite quick at setting their appliance up on the north side of the building, which was able to assist in holding the fire to the front of the premise. I had crews with a 38mm and a 64 line with a ground monitor to the rear section of the premise, trying to push the fire back to the front. At the same time as another pumper was in place on the south side, trying to hold the fire to the southwest of the premise. So fortunately, we were able to stop the fire from spreading to the takeaway establishment next door on the south side, protected the rear end of the premise, which contained their finished products, and unfortunately, all that was involved was the front, I suppose, 50 to 30 metre component of the factory, which contained predominantly combustible liquids and quite a large supply of ethanol products for their production process, which was lost quite early because there was some quite good explosions and the like.
I noticed there's a fair amount of water that actually spilled on the road. It looked like you guys had actually applied some sort of bunding in the drains. What was that for?
Yeah, quite early on in the piece I noticed that there's quite a amount of, I suppose, firefighting water mixed with the combustible liquid flowing down the driveway into the drainage system, and the EPA were dispatched to assist us in being able to combat. We've got Trans-Pacific Services here now utilising their equipment to draft the water and the combustible product out of the drain, but I'm told that it's a non-hazardous product, canola oils and the like, which is biodegradable, so there's no issue to anyone, to firefighters' health or the drainage system and the like. The council are on scene here also tracking down the drainage system and checking the creeks and waterways in the area.
It seemed to be a pretty hot firefight. The temperature was up towards the 30 today. A bit uncomfortable for everybody on scene?
Yeah, certainly. That was a concern after a good 10 to 15 minutes of firefighting, because in our area it does get quite warm. I noticed the crews, especially on the northern side of the premise, were getting quite warm because that was where most of the heat was. But once we had the platform in place and the ground lines in place, we took a fair bit of that heat out. Then it was just a matter of just welfare arrangements, making sure everyone had a bit of a breather, kept everyone hydrated, and fortunately no injuries or ill health at this stage.
Well, it looks like a job well done, so it's a credit to all the crews that were on board. Whereabouts did all the vehicles come from?
Well, the initial appliances responded from Dandenong, so had both staff and volunteers respond from Dandenong. Staff and volunteers from Hallam, Carrum Downs came up in their pumper, and Frankston BA and pumper also arrived on scene. So in total there's about 30 to 35 firefighters, and joined with the Patterson River MCV crew to make my job a lot easier in running the role. They all did quite a great job in holding it to the front portion of the premise.